Close your eyes and imagine standing in the heart of Rome at the peak of its power. The streets are alive. The noise is overwhelming. The smell is unbearable. And everywhere you look, people are living on the edge of death, neary not because of war, not because of plague, but simply because of the life they chose. Or the life that was chosen for them. Rome, the eternal city. At its peak, it was home to over 1 million people, the largest city on Earth. A place of marble temples, roaring crowds, and absolute power. But beneath the golden surface of the empire lay something far darker. For every senator draped in silk, there were thousands living lives of extraordinary danger. Lives defined by violence, heat, poison, and the very real possibility that today might be your last. This is not the Rome of textbooks and monuments. This is the Rome that existed in the shadows, in the arenas, in the sewers, in the workshops, the kitchens, and the fighting pits. These are the most dangerous lifestyles in ancient Rome engineering, and the people who lived them. Let's begin where the danger was most visible, most celebrated, most terrifying: the gladiatorial arena. Picture the Colosseum on fight day. 80,000 people packed into tiered stone seats. The roar is deafening. The sun blazes overhead, and below, in the sand of the arena floor, still stained dark from yesterday's contest. Two men prepare to kill each other. For the entertainment of an empire. The gladiator is one of history's most misunderstood figures. Most people imagine them as slaves dragged into combat against their will. And while many were enslaved, the reality was far more complex. Some were volunteers, desperate men drawn by the promise of fame, food, and money. In a city where poverty was rampant, the arena offered something rare, and quote, a path to glory. But the price was brutal. Gladiators trained in schools called ludi, under the watch of a master known as the lanista. They trained for hours each day, developing incredible physical conditioning. They were well fed by Roman standards. They received medical care. They were, in a strange sense, valuable property. And yet, every time they stepped into the arena, they may not step back out. Contrary to popular belief, fights to the death were not always the norm. A defeated gladiator could appeal to the crowd for mercy, sivi neurastina shniri, and the crowd could grant it. But mercy was never guaranteed. On high-profile games days, under the eyes of emperors looking to impress, survival was never a certainty. sand beneath their feet had a name. It was called arena, the Latin word for sand. It was used specifically because it absorbed blood. Think about that the next time you use the word arena. Step away from the arena now and walk into the quieter, more insidious danger that lurked inside every Roman home. Lead. The Romans were extraordinary engineers. Their aqueducts, their plumbing, their city infrastructure was centuries ahead of its time.
Careful you don't fall in.
Water flowed freely through Rome, a luxury almost no other civilization on Earth could claim.
Make way, move aside.
But the pipes that carried that water were made of lead. The Latin word for lead is plumbum, the root of the word plumber. And Roman plumbers, coppersmiths, and metalworkers spent their entire working lives handling, melting, and shaping one of the most toxic substances in existence. Without gloves, without ventilation, without any awareness of what it was doing to their bodies. Lead poisoning is slow. It is invisible. It attacks the nervous system, degrades cognitive function, and over time dismantles the mind from the inside out. Some historians have controversially suggested that widespread lead exposure may have contributed to erratic behavior among Rome's ruling class. Caligula, Nero, Commodus. We cannot say for certain. But we do know that the men and women who worked with lead daily, forth the craftsmen, the pipe fitters, the kitchen workers cooking in lead-lined pots, forth were slowly being poisoned with every breath they took. And they never knew it. Now, feel the ground shake. The Circus Maximus was not just a racetrack. It was the beating heart of Roman entertainment, capable of holding up to 250,000 spectators. That is 250,000 people gathered in a single place, screaming for speed and blood. And at the center of it all was the charioteer. If gladiators were celebrated, charioteers were worshipped. Their faces appeared on coins, on murals, on household objects. Children idolized them, women adored them, emperors competed for their attention. But the sport itself was extraordinarily lethal. Charioteers wrapped the reins of their horses tightly around their own bodies, a technique that turned every crash into a potential death sentence. If the chariot overturned, if the horses bolted, if a rival driver cut too close, lost, the driver could be dragged, trampled, and destroyed in seconds. Falls in chariot racing were not survivable the way a modern racing crash might be. There were no barriers, no safety equipment, no medical teams on standby, just stone, sand, hooves, and speed. One of Rome's most famous charioteers, Gaius Appuleius Diocles, is estimated to have earned the equivalent of several $1 billion across his career. He raced over 4,000 times. He also survived to retire. Most of his rivals were not so fortunate. Now step back from the spectacle and walk into the side streets of Rome, away from the marble, away from the forums and the temples. Here is where most Romans actually lived. The Insulae were Rome's apartment buildings, towering, overcrowded, structurally terrifying multi-story blocks that housed the vast majority of the city's population. They were fire traps. Built quickly, cheaply, and packed impossibly tight, the Insulae were constructed of wood and poorly fired brick. They had no running water above the ground floor, no toilets, no proper ventilation. Residents cooked over open flames in cramped, airless rooms. In summer, the heat was suffocating. In winter, makeshift braziers filled rooms with smoke.
Out of the way!
Fires were not rare occurrences in ancient Rome. They were a constant threat. In 64 AD, the Great Fire of Rome burned for 6 days and destroyed 2/3 of the city. But smaller fires, lost building fires, street fires, fires caused by a knocked-over lamp in the dead of night, were almost routine. When a fire broke out in an Insulae, the results were catastrophic. Staircases collapsed, exits were blocked, people jumped. And if the fire didn't kill you, the building itself might. Upper floors were notorious for structural instability. Stories of entire walls or floors giving way were common enough that Roman writers referenced them almost casually. It was simply part of Roman urban life. Leave the city now. Travel far beyond its walls, past the farms, past the forests, to the frozen north, or the burning desert, or the edge of an unknown world that Rome was still trying to conquer. This is where the Roman legionary lived. The Roman soldier is one of history's most iconic figures, disciplined, fearless, the backbone of the most powerful military machine the ancient world had ever seen. And yet the life of a common soldier was one of constant, grinding hardship. Legionaries marched up to 30 kilometers a day in full armor, carrying equipment weighing close to 40 kilograms. They constructed their own camps each night, digging ditches, raising palisades, erecting tents nearing, before rising at dawn and doing it all again. In battle, the organized might of the Roman legions was devastating, but battles were not the only danger. Disease killed more Roman soldiers than enemy blades. Dysentery, typhoid, and infected wounds were endemic in military camps. Surgeons existed. Rome had remarkably advanced battlefield medicine, nearing, but without antibiotics, even a minor wound could turn fatal within days. And then there were the enemies themselves. At the fringes of the empire, Rome was always encountering peoples who refused to submit. Germanic tribes in the northern forests, Parthian cavalry in the east, Celtic warriors in the west. Soldiers could spend years, even decades, far from Rome, far from their families, fighting in landscapes nothing like anything they had ever known. Some never came home. Back to the arena Shanirel, but this is a different kind of danger. Before the gladiators fought, before the crowds reached fever pitch, there was another spectacle. The Venatio for the animal hunt. Exotic animals from across the known world were shipped to Rome at enormous expense and effort. Lions from Africa, bears from the northern wilderness, crocodiles from Egypt, rhinoceroses, elephants, hippopotamuses, animals that most Romans had never seen and could barely imagine. And men were sent into the arena to fight them. These fighters were called Venatores, hunters, and while they were armed, while they were trained, the fundamental reality was this: they faced wild, terrified, enraged animals in an enclosed space with no way out. There was no strategy that fully accounted for an unpredictable lion, no technique that guaranteed survival against a charging elephant. The Venatio was as much theater as it was sport, and its participants understood with brutal clarity that on any given day, the animal might win. Thousands of exotic animals were slaughtered during Rome's Great Games. The ecological impact was devastating. Thus, certain species were hunted to regional extinction to feed Roman entertainment, and the men who fought them paid a price in blood that history has largely forgotten. Stand in Rome today, and you walk among ghosts. The Colosseum still rises against the Roman sky, crumbling now, but still immense, still carrying the weight of everything that happened inside it. The Circus Maximus is a park now, green and quiet, where people walk their dogs in the afternoon sun. Insulae are gone. The lead pipes are silent underground. The legions have long since marched their last mile. But the people who lived these lives, the gladiators and the charioteers, the soldiers and the poisoned craftsmen, the families clinging to the upper floors of burning buildings, they were as real as you and I. They woke up in the morning with the same fears, the same hopes, the same desperate wish to survive another day. Ancient Rome was not just an empire of power and marble and brilliant engineering. It was a world where danger was woven into the fabric of everyday existence, where the gap between life and death was sometimes no wider than a strip of sand, a crumbling staircase, or the length of a chariot rein pulled too tight. And yet, softened they endured. They built, they created art and poetry and law and architecture that still shapes our world today. History never truly disappears. It lives in the stones beneath our feet, in the words we still use, in the arenas we still build, and in the quiet, extraordinary courage of the people who came before us. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. If you found this documentary compelling, consider subscribing. Every week we travel deeper into the world's history forgot. And tell us in the comments, today, which dangerous civilization should we explore next?